Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about Russia and perceptions and strategy and numbers and math. And we're going to go through an idea that it keeps coming up. And this is something we talked about on the channel when the whole issue first started. And I'm like, no, that is not a thing. Nobody actually does that. This isn't the video game Civilization. You don't send in your bad units first type of thing. But this is a theory. It's a rumor that just won't die. So we're going to go about it a different way today, because ever since the whole Wagner dust up thing, a whole bunch of commentators have brought this theory out again. So rather than explaining how it's bad, okay, like how this idea just doesn't really hold up to any scrutiny, we're going to say that it's true. Let's just pretend that's true, okay? Russia has just a strong, very powerful reserve that has eluded all U.S. intelligence, all Western intelligence, and they've been holding it in reserve for more than a year. Okay? We are going to assume that the mobilization was completely unnecessary. They didn't actually need to do that because they have these crack troops in reserve. We are going to assume that for some reason they are accepting the just enormous casualties that they are accepting. We are going to assume that their lack of precision-guided munitions is intentional. They have warehouses of that stuff somewhere. They're just choosing not to use it. And all of that giant attempt and them taking chips out of consumer products so they could then recycle them to use them for military applications, that's all just a giant like psyop. Okay, all the supply issues we've heard about, it's all manufactured to get people to believe that Russia is weak when they have this giant, strong reserve ready to pounce. Okay, we're not going to argue any of that. All of that is true. Why? Why? What possible reason? The basis of this theory is that Russia has the strength to just crush Ukraine. They're just not using it. They're holding it in reserve for some reason. Why? What possible strategic value does it serve? Doesn't make any sense, right? You can't actually articulate a reason for them to do this. Because let's remember, the war is not about the fighting on the ground. The war has geopolitical implications. Russia's whole goal was to say, hey, we don't want NATO on our borders. When it would have been a really wise time to release this super secret reserve that nobody can find, before other countries started joining NATO that are on their borders. That would have been a wise time to do it, to show that they can strike at any time and just take that country. That would have been a good time. It also probably would have been a good time to use that reserve when there was an armed column rolling towards Moscow. If that reserve existed, it would have been used then. And realistically, that's the reason why it's being brought up again. My guess is the reason this rumor is coming out is because the Wagner forces encountered so little resistance. They couldn't get armor on the road to stop them. So they have to resurface this idea that armor exists somewhere, and it's just completely hidden, in a hollowed out mountain or something. I have yet to have anybody give me any possible strategic reason for actually doing this. The goal is to take Ukraine, or it was. And I know people will argue that, but whatever. Now the goal is more limited, to hold on to what they've taken. They're not even doing that now. If that reserve existed, trust me, they would put it into play. And I doubt anybody can give me a real reason why they wouldn't. It's a myth. It's a myth. People talk about how the Soviets used deception to this amazing degree. That is true. It's a fact. It's important to remember these aren't Soviets. This is not an ideologically motivated military. This is the military of a capitalist oligarchy. They don't do it to that degree because they're not ideologically motivated anymore. The greatest deception that the Russians have pulled is convincing everybody that they're as good as the Soviets were. At this point, it's pretty evident that they're not. This rumor undoubtedly will continue. This theory that they have all of these reserves they're just not using for whatever reason, it will undoubtedly continue. Every time you hear it, ask yourself why. Why would they do this? You're not going to be able to come up with an answer because there's not one. The losses they have sustained are too great for this to be a feint. Just question it that way. You know, a whole lot of people asked about this because it became another talking point again. Like it got brought up again. There is no logical reason for this to occur. There is no strategic value in losing what they have lost. It's just not there. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.